Excellency, Honorable Minister of Human Resources Development, Communication and IT of the Government of India, Excellency, Minister of Education for the Royal Government of Bhutan, colleagues from Indira Gandhi National Open University and from Digital Learning Magazine, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I would like, first of all, to express my deep gratitude and great pleasure and honor to be part of this World Education Summit, and to extend my deep thanks on behalf of myself and my colleague, Mr. Mohammed Al-Faiz, the Ambassador of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, for His Excellency, the Minister of Human Resources Development, for extending this invitation to be with you and share some of our practices and lessons learned from education around the world, and in particular from Jordan. Jordan, as all of you know, is a small country that is situated centrally in an unstable region in the Middle East. Jordan is surrounded with countries which has a wealth of huge natural resources. However, we were deprived from these natural resources. That's why education becomes first for all Jordanians. Jordan profile in education is something we are proud of. Jordan has achieved universal basic education and achieved gender parity in all levels of education. Net enrollment rates are almost complete for all levels of education. We stand very well even compared to international standards in terms of enrollment in higher education. 42% of the age group between 19 and 23 are enrolling in higher education institutions in Jordan. Jordan stands the first among all Arab countries who were participating in international assessments. However, despite this outstanding profile in educational enrollment, parity, a literacy rate which stands about 94%, literacy rate stands about 94%. However, there remain many challenges. What stands behind this profile of achievements that I would like to share with you as an educational model for in Jordan? Definitely, it is the visionary leadership of His Majesty King Abdullah II. According to him, education is above all. It's not only for all, it is above all. And when he was asked last year what is his utmost priority, he said education, education, and education. For him, education is not only an engine of growth, economic growth. For him, education is not only a human right. For him, education is a mean for social transformation that would ensure peace, security, and participation. It's out of this visionary leadership of His Majesty that the government is continuously supporting the education sector. The second factor of critical success factors in any education reform is continuity, not only in policy, but also in ownership and government commitment. Jordan is spending relatively high on education. Almost 6% of our GDP goes for education. And also around 14% of the government budget is spent on general education. The third factor behind the success of the reform program is not only the technical design of any reform program. Education reform programs around the world are almost the same. They are addressing access, quality, equality, efficiency of any education system. However, reform is not purely and only a technical process. It's about engagement. It's about participation. It's about collaboration. It's about ownership. It's about transformation. All reform programs, or most of reform programs around the world, has failed because they are missing the link between education and development, between education and economic and social development. That's why reform has to be situated within the overall framework for socio-economic transformation and development. Monitoring and evaluation of education is very important. And unfortunately, monitoring and evaluation in education is not perceived as part of an integral process for the reform program itself. So we are missing the policy cycle within which monitoring and evaluation has to provide instant feedback about what is working and why it is working and what is not working. Definitely ICT in education, and I would like to commend the organizers also for including this dimension, is very important to address the qualitative dimension of education. Education systems around the world are suffering from challenges related not only to access, but also mostly related to quality. There are around 800 million illiterate in the world. Around 90 million out-of-school children. In the Arab states alone, there is around 8 million children out of school. Illiteracy in the Arab states, despite the progress that has been made since Jomtien in 1990 and Dakar in 2000, still annoying. It's about 25% of the age group between above 15 years old. However, quality is the most annoying. I'm not talking about quality in terms of students' performance on exams. I'm talking about quality in terms of relevance to national needs, whether it's social or economic. When we analyze international assessments, we feel that, as my colleague, Minister of Education from Bhutan, has said, education is at crossroads. So what we are doing and how should we be addressing all these challenges, not only related to access or closing the gender gaps and also addressing the issues of marginalization and also exclusion. We have to move quickly and fast. We have to move more rationally, and we have to be innovative in terms of the approaches we are adopting in education now, given the fact that it's less than 5 years remain for the end of the race toward achieving education for all by 2015, and definitely also the Millennium Development Goals by also 2015. Why the reform or many reform programs around the world has failed? Definitely there are causes for this. One factor is that reform is often rushed from design to implementation without carefully meeting the requirements for successful implementation. And second, many of the reform programs are designed out of context. It's more or less a cut and paste approach. What works in India might not work in Jordan, and what works in Jordan might not also work in India. It's about the context. Education is a social process, so that it's about linkages and alignment within national goals. Leadership is a fundamental and critical for success of the reform program. Unfortunately, we are educators. We often talk about reform as reform is happening. And this is really killing in that sense. I would like to conclude by saying that this summit will bring another platform where educators and also non-educators from media, from other sectors, would discuss to reach out some of the innovative approaches where we can adopt, whether in ICT in education to boost quality. I would like to mention here that Jordan was the first country to launch an ICT-based model for integration of ICT in education. It's called the Jordan Education Initiative. It was launched after the World Economic Forum in 2003 by His Majesty the King. And we are proud that this initiative has become global now. And my colleague from Bhutan, he knows that Bhutan has adopted that kind of model in their education system 3 or 4 years ago about integration of ICT in education. So the roadmap definitely should include, we have to give our children the best at start. It's about readiness to learn before students can enroll in schools. And definitely we have to accelerate access to formal schools for all and to alleviate all the barriers that would prevent any child around the world in getting his or her right to education. And definitely we have to alleviate all the financial burdens on the poorest around the world, those who are not sending their children to schools or those who are taking out their children from schools. And definitely we have to give more attention to adult literacy. In conclusion, I would like again to extend my deep gratitude and appreciation for His Excellency, the Minister of Human Resources Development, and also for the organizers. And I'm really honored to be part of this distinguished World Education Summit. Thank you very much.